Okay, this last one is fatigue shooting, and fatigue shooting is a really interesting drill. It's 5 minutes on the clock, and you have 2 rebounders and 2 balls, and you're trying to make as many shots as you possibly can, but you have to move after each attempt. Just a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. You just got to keep moving. How many can I make in the course of 5 minutes? Now, that doesn't sound like a very complicated drill. It sounds almost like a 5th grade PE drill. Well, see how many you can make. But there's actually some science behind this one. You're trying to figure out, how do I shoot through fatigue? Over the course of 5 minutes, that last 3 minutes, last 2 minutes, last 1 minute get harder and harder. You get more tired, your arm gets tired. And you also go through some things mentally. If KJ hits a slump and he makes 3 or 4, he misses 3 and 4 in a row, he's got to say, I got to fight through that. So over the course of time, there's going to be some good streaks and some bad streaks. How can you mentally get back to a place of confidence as fast as you can so you can get back on a shot-making spree? So you have 5 minutes on the clock. You're trying to make as many as you possibly can. And we have some pretty good records over the course of the years of people making up in the 80s and things like that if you're looking for what a really, really high shooting is. Typically, anything over 50 we feel really good about. If you're shooting in the 60s, that's awesome. You get up there in the 70s and 80s, I think you're an elite shooter, but that's kind of a gauge for you to be able to measure. So we'll just go for 2.5 minutes right now, and so you could just double that score. And so for some of you, might be a little bit limited on time. Maybe you make this a 3-minute fatigue shooting drill or a 4-minute fatigue shooting drill. During the preseason, we have a little bit more time, so we want to get them as fatigued as possible and going for 5 minutes. Here we go, KJ. 2, 1, go. All right, I started the clock. He's going for 2.5 minutes, typically 5 again, but we're going for 2.5. They're keeping his count. You want the rebounders counting his makes so he doesn't have to focus on that. We just want him focusing on shooting. And we're trying to get him as many balls as we can. This is why we add 2 rebounders in here and 2 balls. This one, we're trying to get as many shots in that 5 minutes as we can possibly get. One minute down. Going through a little dry spell right here. It's good. He's got to fight through it. All right, get back on it. So 3 or 4 in a row. You miss one, make one. So he's got to get back going hot. So you're thinking as a shooter right now. And that's what we want. We want some mental games going on up there so that they have to work those out over the course of this 5 minutes. 30 seconds left. And stop.
Coaches, I keep seeing the same thing over and over. At every level of the game, coaches make 3 critical mistakes. As a result, they and their players suffer. I want to share those 3 mistakes with you, along with what to do about it. Just click the link below this video to get your free copy. And when you do, we'll also send you our preseason team retreat, a plug-and-play resource that you can use with your team every year.
Okay, that was fatigue shooting. Again, we typically do that for 5 minutes, and I think 5 minutes is a good number. We did 2.5 just for the sake of film right there, and he made 35, correct, KJ? So if you were to double that, it would be 70. 70 is a huge number. That's really, really good shooting. So you can kind of have some numbers to go by, and we'll share some documents, some sheets there so you can kind of see some typical numbers and how we average those out. Again, KJ would have a record. KJ, what is your record?
84.
84. So 84 is KJ's highest, and we'll keep that the entire time that he's here, and he's always trying to beat 84, but he also has an average. So let's say he makes 68 on average. So we're going to rank him according to his average, and we're also going to post the records in that individual drill. You know, there's a couple times there, even in the course of that 35, where he missed 3 and 4 in a row, and there's some mental games going on with the shooter. You got to think, okay, I'm tired. I got to come back. I want to get to this number, and you got to fight through it. That's why it's a good drill, is they've got to fight through that fatigue, and that's exactly why we call it fatigue shooting.